задача поколения нынешнего. Для этого в первую очередь надо изменить сознание людей. На саммите ООН по продовольственным системам
Speaking about United Nations Summit, the leaders of more than 140 countries agreed to promote modification of their food systems, and by 2030 they can fulfill their project of sustainable development. The overall ambition is that by 2030 numbers of hungry and malnourished people is greatly reduced, including through ending food loss and waste. Food production stops destroying nature and contributing to climate change everywhere. Rural poverty is reduced and decent working conditions are established for those who produce and process food, especially women, younger people, indigenous peoples. Food systems and nutrition are resilient and can withstand shocks due to health crises like COVID-19 and all adverse weather events and violent conflicts. There are means established, including action coalitions for collaborative implementation of wide-ranging food system transformation. I would like to welcome our next speaker, David Nabarro, World Health Organization, Imperial College Institute of Global Health Innovation.
Hello, how do you do? I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you for the chance to join you today and for my second opportunity to participate in this extraordinary Nobel Symposium. Honor to share with you what has been happening around the future of food systems. As we just heard, food systems all over the world are not all working as well as we would like them to. The numbers of hungry and malnourished people in our world has actually increased substantially because of COVID-19. There's also an epidemic of obesity everywhere. In addition, as we heard, food production is destroying nature and contributing to climate change everywhere. And food producers are experiencing extraordinary difficulty because of climate change, reducing availability of water and making production much more of a lottery. Quite simply, food systems have got to change. And the good news is that if food systems can change in a way that contributes to people's well-being, that contributes to the environment, and that contributes to the improvement of livelihoods in rural areas, then food systems can help the world achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, can help the world to become a place that will be fit for generations to come, our grandchildren and the generations after them. Let's get food right, because if we get food right, so much else comes right as well. That was the sentiment of the United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, in 2019, when he decided to host the World Ever United Nations Food Systems Summit. And this took place in September this year, September 23rd to 2021. I want to describe to you the work that was done to prepare for this first ever Food Systems Summit. I want to share with you what an extraordinary process it has been and what an incredibly promising result was achieved from this summit, promising in terms of offering real hope for the world of the future. When Mr. Guterres said that he wanted a summit on food systems, he was telling the world that he would like us all to view food as an issue that connects many different aspects of what happens in societies everywhere. Food systems involve multiple sectors in government, ministries of agriculture and fisheries, ministries of health with their responsibilities for nutrition, ministries responsible for gender, for young people, for rural development, and for industry, and for economic and social futures for all. Food systems are a truly multi-sectoral issue. Food systems also involve an enormous number of stakeholders in our societies. All those who produce food, who process food, who then transport and then distribute food, those who retail food, people concerned with nutrition and health, people concerned with the environment, people concerned with the well-being of young people. Essentially, food systems touches all of us. And so that's why we have to recognize that food is an issue that belongs to multiple stakeholders. In addition, food needs to be dealt with at the local level. You can't just simply approach food as a global challenge, because the way in which food is addressed has huge local specificities. That means that in the preparations for the first ever World Food Systems Summit, the United Nations Secretary General asked everybody concerned to look at food as a multi-sectoral issue, cutting across a large number of sectors of government. He said, look at food as a multi-stakeholder issue involving numerous different stakeholders in society. And he said, look at food as a multi-level issue, and one that is important at local level, at national level, regionally, and globally. So seeing food means seeing it broadly, seeing it in an inclusive way, and seeing it very deeply. So as we were all preparing for the Food Systems Summit in 2020 and 2021, the United Nations Secretary General wrote to the representatives of every country and said, would you like to be part of preparing for the summit? Would you like to organize multi-stakeholder dialogues in your country? Would you like to engage the different stakeholders in thinking through for themselves what is needed to make food systems sustainable, equitable, and resilient by 2030? And so that invitation was issued in November last year. During this year, 2021, a total of 148 national governments identified people in their governments who would become the conveners of multi-stakeholder dialogues on the future of food systems. And dialogues were taking place in all of these countries. The conveners announced their dialogues, the conveners organized their dialogues, the conveners fed back on their dialogues to the summit secretariat. And that was all made possible through a website called the Summit Dialogues Gateway. As a result of conveners announcing and then reporting on dialogues using the gateway, there has been a large number, at least 600 dialogue feedback forms, and these have been analyzed and used to produce a synthesis of what it is that stakeholders want within countries. And that synthesis has been used to develop the narrative of the Food Systems Summit. Most of the 148 countries that have undertaken food systems dialogues have also gone ahead and consolidated the results of their dialogues and have developed national pathways for food systems transformation. There are 110 of these pathways posted on the Summit Dialogues website. And the pathways are being used by national governments as a way of bringing together national stakeholders around a shared journey to food systems of the future. More than 2/3 of the governments who went ahead and produced Food Systems Summit pathways for transformation of their food systems are actually still involved in food systems transformation. We are still connecting with them each week, and they are telling us that they are very deeply involved in making the transformation work. This is one of the most rapid and far-reaching systems transformations that I have ever known. And it is all taking place amidst a COVID-19 pandemic, a ferocious pandemic that has caused so much suffering all over our world. And yet, despite that pandemic, the dialogues are taking place. And not only are they taking place in countries, there have also been 1,000 independent dialogues and a number of global dialogues. And so what we're seeing altogether is a huge movement of dialogues and development of pathways all over the world, involving a total of more than 100,000 people. I want to say a word or two about the contribution of the Russian Federation to this process. Your government appointed Alexander Yakovenko as the national convener of dialogues. The dialogues have not only been a great success in Russia, Dr. Yakovenko tells me that the dialogues will continue to be implemented. And not only that, this is paving the way to a true multi-stakeholder food systems transformation in Russia, a transformation that you're sharing with other countries in your region. This is a remarkable and impressive contribution. And I'd also like to express total gratitude to the Office of the Food and Agriculture Organization, who through their team in Russia have been working closely with the national government. So here we have it. A summit is organized, countries get engaged, and more than 100 are actively involved in systems transformation. Is this going to lead to real improvements in the quality and production systems for food everywhere? Well, I think it will. Because the UN Secretary General decided that there will be a follow-up to the summit this September, taking place in September 2023. And the idea will be to assess to see to what extent food systems around the world are transforming so that they are more nutritious, so they are more sustainable, so they are more resilient. In addition to the activity within countries, we're also seeing a huge international involvement in supporting food systems transformation everywhere. The whole United Nations system is being adapted. And with the strong involvement of the Russian Federation and other member states, a coordination hub for food systems transformation is being set up by the Food and Agriculture Organization in Rome. And this coordination hub will help pave the way for the transformation changes that have got to take place. This transformation hub will also help to connect between the national efforts being expressed in the national pathways, together with regional initiatives, for example, in the Pacific or in the Caribbean or in the Indian Ocean. And this will also connect what's happening nationally and regionally to global coalitions of action. At least 30 of these have been announced in connection with the summit. I'd like, therefore, in conclusion, to commend all who have been involved in this radically new approach to to working on food. Thank you for having the courage to approach food as a systems issue. Thank you for coming together and combining the disciplines of agriculture, both agriculture on land and agriculture in water, both fresh and seawater, together with the disciplines of nutrition and health, the disciplines of environment and nature, the disciplines linked to rural development and rural economies, the disciplines around sociology and anthropology, and bringing these disciplines together to help create a much more holistic approach to food systems now and in the years to come. And let's see the same approach using dialogue and multi-stakeholder engagement to other challenging issues that humanity faces today, including COVID-19, including climate change, and including the restoration of biodiversity. Thanks again, and I wish you well for the next part of this extraordinary seminar. Thank you.